All right. Well, I guess I have the privilege to welcome everybody officially to the very first Friday blessing. So welcome, everybody. I don't know if any of you noticed, every single member of this praise team was your teachers, right? So we have asked the teachers to lead this time of worship, and I believe that God has worked through them to bless us, so I'm really grateful. This time is a special time. Well, we hope that this time will be a special time, that we have gathered parents with their children together, and this is a time where we come together as a whole family, as one before the Lord, where we will be able to bless each other with the Word of God and in prayer. So that is our hope. We'll be continuing to have this Friday blessing every Friday at the end of the month. So today I will be preaching and leading the prayer, but next week Pastor Homin will take turns, so look forward to that too, okay? So if I mess up tonight, it's okay. Next time will be a lot better, okay? So listen to that. All right. Today, I want to share with everyone a life of someone that we know, someone that's dear to our heart, someone named Joseph, all right? So we know, for most of us, we know we have an idea of the life of Joseph, the kind of life that he had, okay? But today, let's just go back in memory, all right, relive that briefly, okay? And we'll talk about what we can learn through the life of Joseph, all right? Everybody who's 17, please raise your hand. 17, raise your hand. Okay, 17. I'm not going to ask how long ago you were 17, but yes, we were all 17 at one point. We have 0 17-year-olds? Oh, for real? Oh, okay. Oh, somebody's 17 over there. Okay. All right, raise your hand if you were 17 at one point. At one point, we're all 17, okay? So we can all relate, even if today, right now, we're not 17, all right? So, Bible talks about the Joseph, and he is 17. And Joseph was one of 12 sons of Jacob, right? Jacob had 12 sons, and Joseph was the 11th. But Joseph was his favorite. So at 17-year-old, Joseph is living the time of his life. He is the favorite, and Father Jacob here does not hide his favoritism. He says, let everyone else know that, no, you're not. This one is my favorite. Okay? Judah, no, you're okay, but really, Joseph is my favorite. And so he makes Joseph this robe of many colors. He's special, and Joseph gets to titter-tell on his brothers. Whatever they're doing wrong, he runs over to his father and goes, hey, he did this and he did that. And only the closest to the dad can do that, right? So he's living the time of his life, and one day he dreams a dream. He dreams a dream that everyone, all of his 12 brothers, including him, are out in the field, and they're gathering hay. And they're gathering hay, and suddenly Joseph's hay stands still, and all 11 of those hays that his brothers' hays were kind of bowing down to the hay, to his own. So Joseph is obviously he's not a dumb person, so he's very smart. So he knows exactly what's going on. One day I'm gonna stand over my brothers. So he's excited. Not only his father's favorite, now that his dreams are telling him he's gonna be, even greater than his brothers. So he goes, behold, I had a dream. And this is literally how he reads in the Bible. Behold, I had a dream. And listen. Obviously, the brothers don't want to listen. But he tells the dream, and the brothers love him or hate him. The brothers hate him. They can't stand him being father's favorite. Now that he thinks he's better than everyone else, they were really, really hating him. And he had a dream, another one just like that, okay? So, and in this time, it's about not only his brothers, but it includes his dad and his mom. So, he is going crazy. I know you guys are excited to see your faces on the on the screen. That's very good. So, but what happens at the end of this jealousy between the brothers and Joseph? There's a tragedy that happens that we all know. One day, his brother's out in the field, and Joseph happens to visit him. And what happens? The brothers go, what? I am done with that one. We are done with that one. Let's just kill him. This is a 17-year-old Joseph, and this is his brothers. His brothers say, let's just kill him. So what they do, they capture him. They try to kill him. But one of the brothers said, you know what? Why do we have to kill him? Why do we have to get our hands dirty? Okay? They weren't against getting rid of Joseph, but they were against, you know what, let's just not, you don't have to end his life. So they put him in this pit, dry pit, and they decide what they're going to do with him. Okay? So what do they decide? At that moment, there is a trading, like a group, passing through. So they say, hey, we got something to trade for you. Hey, if you're willing, I got something here that I want to trade. So the brothers trade Joseph with 20 silver. So Joseph, from 17-year-old, from being the favorite of his dad, and his life is full of dreams, one day being the greatest over all of his brothers, are now a slave. So Joseph is sold as a slave, and they sell him. They get to Egypt and they sell him to a guy called Potiphar. Okay, a Potiphar was a palace guard captain. So he was someone in charge, someone important. And he probably had a big house, many servants, and there he starts his slavery. Okay, his slavery. He was free. He was the favored. It was a time of his life. Now, one moment, his brothers trying to kill him. Now he is a slave. It looks like there's nowhere lower he can go. And now he's literally all alone by himself. Before he was with his father, brothers, family, friends. Now he's by himself, it seems like. But there, Joseph notices something different. Joseph is a slave, okay? Slave has no purpose of his own. He doesn't want to do anything. He cannot do anything unless the master permits him to do. So all he does is what his master wants him to do. But he notices something different, okay? He's never been a slave before. He's never lived in Egypt before. He's never spoken the language before. He's never seen such customs before. But everything that he does turns out well. So much so that his master even realizes. And the master realizes that the Lord was with Joseph. So Joseph does something great, and everybody's like, oh, Joseph, how can you be so great at everything that you do, anything that you do? You're successful. How can you do that? Joseph was, oh, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not that great of a guy, but I guess God is with me. I guess, my God, Yahweh, maybe he's with me. Wouldn't that be the only way Potiphar notices the Lord, Yahweh, was with Joseph? That he had to speak about him before Potiphar? And so maybe he thought, okay, everything's going well. I know I'm a slave, but you know what? My life is saved, and now it's going to be a good sailing at that moment. At that moment, what happens? Temptation arrives right in front of him. Potiphar's wife tries to seduce him. What does he do? He gets scared. He runs away from temptation. Okay? And what's the result of not falling into the temptation and winning? I mean, right? Enduring over the temptation. What happened to Joseph? Children, what happened to Joseph when he ran from Potiphar's wife? Was he rewarded or was he put in? He was put in jail. That's right. He was put in jail. Like he's doing everything well. He's doing the right thing, but his life is going the opposite direction as he would expect it to. Once again, as a slave, he thought there was nowhere lower he can go, but now he's in prison. Okay? I mean, big difference, right? Slave, prisoner. Big difference. Big difference. You're in these confined spaces with confined people, with confined resources. Now you're really, really limited. But even then, Joseph notices it, and those around him notices that there's something different about this Joseph. Everything that he does, he succeeds. Everything that the jail guards ask him to do something, give him some kind of responsibility, it turns out great. Even in jail. Okay? Now, the Bible does not tell us how long Joseph was imprisoned. But we know it's not just a day or two. It's not a week or two. I'm guessing it's at least a few years. At least a few years. Okay? So Joseph is going through these people. Joseph was in charge with other inmates. So Joseph gets to go through. Joseph is kind of in charge of all the inmates, being himself inmates, because the guards now, because of Joseph, they don't have to work as much. So Joseph goes through all these people. And one day, he meets people that worked for the Pharaoh. He meets people who worked for the Pharaoh. Okay? He meets the baker, and he meets the wine pourer. Okay? And they actually have dreams. Now, dreams come again before. What happened to Joseph when Joseph dreamt? His brothers sold him as a slave. But there's other people, right? Told him about their dreams. And Joseph interprets those dreams. And eventually, what does that lead him? Where does that lead him? Interpreting the dreams of the baker, Pharaoh's baker, and Pharaoh's wine pourer. So that leads him to Pharaoh's side. Because one day, Pharaoh dreams this dream, and no one can tell him what it's about. No one can tell him what it's about. So Pharaoh's going crazy. I know this means something. I know it's important. I know this is almost life and death. I need to find out. And no one in the entire land of Egypt can tell him what it is. At that moment, the wine pourer remembers, hey, I had a dream once. And, there was a guy named in the prison, Joseph. He interpreted it, okay? And he goes to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh, I'm so sorry, I didn't remember, sooner, but there was a guy, this guy can interpret your dreams, I'm pretty sure. So Joseph, in jail, are now standing before the Pharaoh. And does Joseph have a hard time? Does Joseph have a hard time interpreting those dreams? No, not at all. Joseph interprets those dreams to Pharaoh, even without Pharaoh having to tell him what kind of dream he had. So the Pharaoh trusts Joseph, and Pharaoh gives the power to Joseph to rule over Egypt right under him, so that he can prepare for whatever that is coming, which was the great, great famine. Okay? Now, this is not the end of the life of Joseph, but this is kind of the exciting life of Joseph that he had. And boys and girls and gentlemen, the life went up. Life went up and then down, and then up. Now, how many of you had your brothers or sisters kill you? how many of you were actually sold off as a slave? I can't even. No. No. No one has done that to us. Can you imagine your brother, your sister? I mean, I understand back then it was a little different, but no, a family is a family still, and brother is a brother, and trying to kill Joseph. Joseph had a dream once. Back at home, Joseph had a dream. He had a dream that he was all his brothers, his father and mother are gonna bow down to him. He's gonna be one day great. What happened to his dream now? What happened to his dream all throughout those difficult times that he was just going back, borrowing in deeper and deeper? This is what happened. This is the confession of Joseph to his brothers and his family in Genesis chapter 45, verse 7. This is almost at the end of Joseph's kind of encounter. Okay, so Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near to me, please." This is before revealing himself. "Come near to me, please." And they came near, and he said, "I am your brother, Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land 2 years, and there are yet 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. For God sent me, and God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his house and ruler of all the land of Egypt." So at the end of his life, facing his brothers once again, this is his confession. What would your encounter be if your brother that sold you as a slave is before you begging for help, begging for life? This is what happens. How could Joseph says, there's nothing in this word that has anything to do with him or to do with the brothers, but everything that he said had to do with God. It was about God's plan. It was about God sending him. It was about God's purpose and how God used Joseph to fulfill God's plan. So throughout his life, right here, this tells me that Joseph trusted God. As a 17-year-old being favorite of his dad. In the pit, not knowing what is going to him next. If he's going to be dead by the hands of his brothers. And as a slave in the Potiphar's house, as he runs away from his master's wife, and in dark jails, Joseph always trusted God. And I want to wrap this time with this one question. How could Joseph trust God through all of this ups and downs? How could Joseph trust God? One answer is this. Is because God was with him. Because God was with him so powerfully, it was apparent to those who surrounded Joseph. God was with Joseph, and he showed his favor on him, so much so that everyone else saw it as well. God continued to show favor in each and every circumstance, every stage of Joseph's life. And because of that, Joseph could trust God, even as a slave, even as a prisoner, and even as a Pharaoh's father, as a ruler of Egypt. Okay? And second is this, because Joseph was able to trust God through all the hard times because he believed in God's plan. He believed in God's plan. He understood that his life was a piece. His life was a piece in God's grand plan to save many people, including his family. So, parents, is life easy or tough? Let me ask you a different question. Do you want your child's life to be tough or smooth? You can say it loud. Do you want your child to have a rough life, or do you want your child to have an easy life? Easy life? Yeah, a smooth life, right? Is there anyone? No, I want my child to be in the pit, right? Okay, let me ask you this question. Is there such a life? Easy? Smooth? Is there such a life? I haven't seen one. I'm sorry. I'm not very old, but I haven't seen one. I haven't experienced one. Every life has its difficulties, all right? Then, our desire for our children to have a smooth, easy life. What about our hopes? Are we hoping for something that doesn't exist? So, there's a point that I'm trying to make here, okay? Just as Joseph's life, we are in different stages of life. I am not sure where your life is. Maybe you're still with your father, being the favorite, enjoying life. Not sure. Or maybe right now you're in conflict with your siblings and you're just fighting to death. It's a death match every day. I don't know. Or maybe you feel like you're put in this brand new place and you have to learn everything new and you have to get yourself going, but you're only the slave. You're really not a master of your own life. Or maybe you're in a stage of life where you're just going through the same thing, you're in jail. It's the same thing over and over. Nothing ever changes. I am not so sure where your stage of life is. But let me assure you, however rough your life, your stage is, I think Joseph was close, right? Joseph had it pretty rough too. And just like when God was with Joseph, the circumstance didn't matter. God's favor was shown on him. He was successful. He was shown favor by those around him, no matter where he was, because God was with him. It's not about circumstance. It's not about the struggles. It's whether, is God here? Is God with me? And the second point, right? Joseph knew God's plan. Joseph knew God's plan. That's why he was able to say, hey, brothers, you feel like you did something, but it's not true. It was all God. So don't worry about me. Don't worry about what you did. You don't even have to apologize because it was God. Now, such a faith, such a statement that he is able to make because he knew that his life was not the center of this universe, but God's plan was. God was the center. And he was grateful just to be a piece of that plan. Okay? Now, you may ask, but God is almighty powerful. Can he just be from 17 being favored to Pharaoh's advisor? You don't have to. Did you really have to go through ups and downs? To that question? If you had that question, I know you never did, but if you had that question, I would answer it this way. As a 17-year-old, it was all about him. Behold, as the 11th of 12 brothers. His brothers being much, much older. Behold, I had a dream, and you better listen. And my dream said, I'm going to be better than you, so you better listen. That was Joseph at 17. But through the hardships, through the relationship, through the favor that he has experienced, through those times, when he matured, he was able to say, no, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about God. And for today, as an opening Friday blessing, this was the blessing that I want us to pray for ourselves and for our children. And this is a prayer request. So I'm going to ask the praise team to come on the stage, back on the stage. And I want all of us to close our eyes at this time.